The broken piece. Captain Ilara Voss stood at the observation deck of Harmony Station, watching the swirling gas giant Encelius dominate the view. The massive ringed planet cast purple-blue light across her face as she contemplated the 5 years of uneasy peace between humanity and the Craxian Empire. Her hand unconsciously traced the neural implant scar behind her right ear, a permanent reminder of the Battle of Proxima Centauri, where she'd lost her brother and nearly her own life. Captain Voss, Ambassador Krulther requests your presence in the diplomatic quarter, announced the station eye. Voss straightened her uniform. As Earth's military liaison to the Craxian embassy, these meetings were routine, but never comfortable. The diplomatic quarter was maintained at the higher temperatures and gravity preferred by Craxians, another small compromise in the name of peace. Ambassador Krulther rose as Voss entered, his towering form nearly scraping the ceiling. Like all Craxians, he had iridescent scaled skin and 4 arms, but his eyes held an intelligence and perhaps even warmth that distinguished him from his more militaristic counterparts. Captain Voss, thank you for coming. Krulther's translator gave his words a melodic quality. Please, be seated. They discussed routine matters, joint patrol schedules, resource-sharing agreements, cultural exchange programs, mundane work, but Voss understood its importance. Boring meant no one was dying. As their meeting concluded, Krulther dismissed his aides with a quick gesture. Captain, there's something troubling I must share. His voice dropped to a whisper. There are factions among my people who believe this peace makes us weak. Voss felt her muscles tense. We have similar elements. Yes, but mine grow bold. The Purity Coalition gained support daily. His secondary arms twitched nervously. They see humans as a corruption of the natural order. Are they a serious threat? Not yet, but I wanted you to know I am vigilant. I lost my clutched sister in the war. Krulther's eyes met Voss's. I have no wish to see more bloodshed. Later that night, Voss couldn't sleep. She paced her quarters, replaying Krulther's warning. The peace was working. Trade had resumed. Both species were rebuilding. There was even talk of joint scientific missions to the galactic core. Her communication terminal chimed. Voss here. Admiral Chen's stern face appeared on screen. Secure transmission from Earth Command. How's our scaled friend? Krulther seems genuinely committed to peace. He mentioned a faction called the Purity Coalition. Chen nodded. Keep an eye on it. Meanwhile, Project Aegis moves to Phase 3 next month. The weapon tests exceeded expectations. Voss frowned. Admiral, if the Craxians discover, and we're not discovering anything, Chen cut her off. We're ensuring survival. The truce is fine, Voss, but I'm not betting humanity's future on alien promises. After the call ended, Voss returned to the observation deck. Encelius's storm swirled below, a perpetual tempest contained within bands of colorful gases. She couldn't shake the feeling that another storm was brewing, one that wouldn't be confined to a planetary atmosphere. Peace was fragile. Voss knew that better than most. But for now, it held. For now, there was hope. She didn't see the encrypted transmission that flashed between a Craxian transport and a hidden base in the outer asteroid belt. She didn't see the weapons being assembled by claws that believed peace was the true enemy. Not yet. Voss's alarm blared at 300 hours. Emergency lights bathed her quarters in red. She was fully awake in seconds, military training taking over. Captain Voss to Command Center immediately, announced the station eye. When she reached the command center, Admiral Chen's grim face was already on the main screen. We've lost contact with Ganymede Research Station. All 127 scientists and staff went silent 8 hours ago. Voss felt her stomach drop. Equipment failure. We sent a drone. I'm forwarding the footage now. The screen changed to show the interior of the research station. Voss's breath caught in her throat. Bodies lay scattered across the floor. Blood painted the walls. Equipment was destroyed. The carnage was total. Those are Craxian weapon signatures, Voss said quietly. The molecular disruptor patterns are distinctive. 2 colony ships also destroyed in deep space, Chen continued. All evidence points to Craxian attacks. The Secretary-General addresses the United Earth Council in 1 hour. Voss shook her head. This doesn't make sense. I spoke with Kreltha yesterday. The peace was holding. Tell that to the families of the dead, Chen snapped. Report back to Earth immediately. We need you here. As the screen went dark, Voss's mind raced. This had to be the work of the Purity Coalition. Kreltha wouldn't have sanctioned this. She needed to speak with the ambassador. Voss hurried to the Craxian embassy only to find it locked down. Armed Craxian guards blocked the entrance. I need to speak with Ambassador Kreltha, Voss demanded. The ambassador is unavailable. The guard's translator crackled. All human personnel must evacuate Craxian territory immediately. This is a joint station, Voss argued. Let me speak to Kreltha. The guard raised his molecular disruptor. Depart now. Voss backed away, her mind working. She had a secure communication channel to Kreltha for emergencies. She would try that from her quarters. Throughout the station, screens showed the devastation on Ganymede. People watched in horror as footage of the destroyed colony ships followed. Human news networks were already calling it the second betrayal. In her quarters, Voss activated her secure communicator. Ambassador Kreltha, please respond. This is Captain Voss. After several tense minutes, the screen flickered to life. Kreltha looked agitated, all 4 of his arms moving nervously. Captain, I did not authorize these attacks, Kreltha said hurriedly. The Purity Coalition has seized control of several military vessels. They act against the government's wishes. I need proof, Kreltha, Voss said. Humans are dead. Many humans. I am sending you encrypted communications we intercepted, Kreltha replied. The coalition planned this for months. A loud crash sounded from Kreltha's end. They're here. They know I'm contacting you, Kreltha said, fear evident in his voice. Ambassador, who's there? What's happening? Kreltha looked directly into the camera. Captain Voss, if our species are to survive, you must understand. This is not the will of all Craxians. The coalition believes eliminating humans is necessary for. The feed cut off with the sound of molecular disruptors firing. Voss downloaded the data Kreltha had sent. It contained communications between Purity Coalition leaders planning the attacks to look like official Craxian military operations. Before Voss could analyze further, her communicator chimed again. All personnel, emergency evacuation ordered. Repeat, all personnel must evacuate immediately. This is not a drill. Voss grabbed the data drive and ran for the docking bay. Outside the viewport, she saw Craxian warships appearing from jump points, many more than should have been in the area. As her shuttle pulled away from Harmony Station, Voss watched as the first shots were fired. The truce wasn't just broken, it was obliterated. Voss's shuttle docked at the Mars Defense Station. The red planet loomed large in the viewport, home to over 15 million colonists. After escaping Harmony Station, Voss had transmitted Kreltha's data to Earth Command, hoping it would make a difference. Now she waited for orders while monitoring the rapidly deteriorating situation. Captain Voss, incoming transmission from Admiral Chen, announced the station's communications officer. Chen's face appeared on screen, lines of exhaustion etched deeper than Voss had ever seen. Voss, have you seen the news? Chen asked. No, Admiral. I've been debriefing the station commander. Chen's expression darkened. The Craxian government is denying responsibility for the attacks. They claim these are actions of a splinter group. Your evidence supports that claim, but public opinion. He paused. It doesn't matter now. Sir, they've attacked New Terra Colony, Voss. 3 Craxian capital ships jumped in 30 minutes ago. They targeted the main dome first. Voss felt the blood drain from her face. Casualties. Initial estimates are in the millions. The colony's defenses were designed for meteors, not warships. Chen's voice was hollow. The Secretary General is about to declare the truce officially broken. All Craxians in human space are being detained. Your orders, sir. Return to Earth immediately. We need your first-hand knowledge of current Craxian tactics and capabilities. The journey to Earth was the longest of Voss's life. She watched helplessly as news reports showed the devastation on New Terra. The planet's surface was scarred with new craters where domes had once stood. Emergency vehicles swarmed the remaining habitats. Civilian ships fled in chaotic streams. When her shuttle approached Earth, Voss was shocked by the transformation. The orbital defense platforms that had been dormant since the truce were now fully activated. Military vessels formed protective screens around the planet. Earth had awakened for war. At Earth Command Headquarters, Voss was immediately ushered into a high-security briefing room. The screens showed military leaders from colonies across the solar system. All faces were grim, determined. Captain Voss, General Santos nodded. Before we begin, there's something you should see. The main screen switched to footage from what Voss recognized as the Craxian embassy on Harmony Station. Ambassador Kreltha stood surrounded by his own security team. The timestamp showed this was taken shortly after Voss's escape. I have transmitted proof of the Coalition's treachery to human authorities, Kreltha was saying. This violence must end before. One of his guards fired a molecular disruptor into Kreltha's back. As the ambassador fell, the guard removed his helmet, revealing the distinctive markings of a Purity Coalition officer. The corrupt element has been eliminated, the officer announced. The Coalition now speaks for all Craxians. Humanity is an evolutionary mistake that must be corrected. Voss watched in horror as Kreltha, the last voice for peace, died on the embassy floor. That broadcast went out across all Craxian channels, Santos explained. The Purity Coalition has taken control of the Craxian government. Voss looked around the room. The faces that stared back at her were not the same diplomatic, cautious leaders who had signed the peace accord. These were the faces of a species that had tried peace and been rewarded with slaughter. Project Aegis is now active, Admiral Chen announced. All restrictions on military response have been lifted. Voss felt something shift inside herself. The part of her that had hoped for lasting peace died as surely as Kreltha had. Humanity tried peace, Santos said, his voice steel. Now they'll learn what happens when humanity stops holding back. The awakening storm. Voss stepped out of the shuttle onto the lunar surface. Earth hung in the black sky, beautiful and blue. Hard to believe that just 2 weeks ago, she had been working for peace. A man in a military uniform waited for her at the airlock. His silver hair was cut short, his face weathered but determined. Captain Voss, he extended his hand. I'm General Marcus Reed, Director of Project Aegis. Welcome to Olympus Base. They walked through corridors carved deep into the moon's regolith. Voss had heard whispers about a secret base here, but the scale shocked her. Thousands of personnel moved with purpose through the massive facility. For 5 years, Reed explained as they walked, while diplomats talked peace, we prepared for war. Not because we wanted it, but because we knew the Craxians might never accept real peace. They entered a vast chamber where workers assembled sleek black ships, unlike any Voss had seen before. The Nemesis fleet, Reed said with pride. 50 ships with technology the Craxians can't even imagine. How is that possible? Voss asked. Their tech was ahead of ours during the last war. Reed smiled thinly. We learned from them during the first conflict. We captured damaged Craxian ships, studied them. Then we improved them. He led Voss to another section where soldiers trained with strange weapons. Quantum phase disruptors, he explained. They bypass Craxian shields completely. In the last war, their shields made them nearly invincible. Not anymore. Voss watched a demonstration where a weapon beam passed through a standard Craxian shield and destroyed the target behind it. We need someone to lead the first strike team, Reed said, turning to face Voss directly. Someone who knows Craxian tactics. Someone they won't expect to hit them so hard. Voss understood immediately. You want me. Admiral Chen recommended you personally. You've spent years studying them. You know how they think. In a large briefing room, Reed showed Voss the attack plan. A holographic map displayed Craxian territory with one system highlighted. Helios Primus, Reed said, home to their largest shipyard. The Purity Coalition is building their invasion fleet there. They'll expect us to defend, not attack, Voss noted. Their psychology favors patience. They believe humans are impulsive, emotional. Exactly why our first strike will shock them, Reed agreed. The Nemesis fleet can reach Helios Primus in 3 days using the new drives. Your mission is to destroy their shipyard and return. Voss studied the plans. They'll have heavy defenses. That's where this comes in. Reed handed Voss a small device. We call it the silencer. It creates a field that disrupts Craxian communication networks for 6 hours. Their ships can't coordinate, their weapons targeting fails. Voss looked around at the massive operation. All this was happening while we negotiated peace. Reed's expression hardened. Humanity tried peace with open hearts, but we prepared for war with open eyes. Later, as Voss toured the facility, she met the soldiers who would form her strike team. Men and women with hard eyes and quiet voices. Many had lost family in the First War or in the recent attacks. We're ready to hit back, Captain, said Lieutenant Reyes, a tough woman with scars on her face. Just give the word. That night, Voss couldn't sleep. She thought of Kreltha, genuinely working for peace, murdered by his own people. She thought of New Terra Colony in flames, the millions dead. Tomorrow, she would board the lead ship of the Nemesis fleet. Tomorrow, humanity would reveal what it had been building in secret. Tomorrow, the Craxians would learn that breaking the truce was the worst mistake they could have made. Humanity had tried peace. Now humanity would show the galaxy what it was truly capable of when pushed too far. The sleeping giant had awakened. The Nemesis fleet moved silently through space, 50 black ships almost invisible against the darkness. On the command deck of the flagship Retribution, Voss studied the tactical display. Helios Primus grew larger as they approached. 2 hours to target, Lieutenant Rice reported, her hands moving confidently over the controls. Voss nodded. Status of the silencer device. Ready, Captain. For 3 days, they had traveled faster than any human ships before. The new quantum drives left no energy signature for Craxian sensors to detect. They would arrive completely unexpected. Captain, we're picking up Craxian communications, the communications officer said. They're discussing the attacks on human colonies. They're celebrating. Voss felt cold anger settle in her chest. Record everything. The people back home should hear this. The Retribution slipped past the outer sensor network of Helios Primus. Through the viewports, Voss could see the massive Craxian shipyard, dozens of warships under construction. The invasion fleet meant to finish what they had started at New Terra. All ships in position, Rice confirmed. Voss took a deep breath. Activate the silencer. The small device hummed to life. On the tactical display, Craxian communication signals suddenly disappeared. All ships, weapons free, Voss ordered. Execute attack plan Alpha. The Nemesis fleet emerged from stealth mode. The quantum phase disruptors fired as one. Beams of energy passed through the shipyard shields as if they weren't there. The first explosion was massive. A nearly completed Craxian dreadnought broke apart, its reactor detonating. Chain reactions spread across the shipyard. Craxian defensive ships scrambled to respond, but without communications, they fired blindly into space. Their weapons can't lock onto us, Ray said, her voice tight with controlled excitement. The stealth hulls are working perfectly. The Nemesis fleet moved through the Craxian defenses like ghosts. Weapons that would have destroyed human ships in the last war now passed harmlessly through advanced shielding. Captain, Craxian command ship detected. The tactical officer reported. Heavy armor, But our weapons should penetrate. Voss studied the massive vessel trying to coordinate the chaotic defense. All ships, focus fire on the command ship. The Nemesis fleet turned as one. 50 quantum beams converged on the Craxian command ship. Its shields flared and died. The hull armor melted away. Secondary explosions rippled along its length before it split apart. "Captain, we're being hailed," the communications officer said in surprise. "It's coming from one of the smaller Craxian vessels." "On screen," Voss ordered. A Craxian officer appeared. Unlike most Craxians, this one had gold markings on his face, a high-ranking commander. His voice translator couldn't hide his shock. "Human forces. How is this possible? Our intelligence said you had no such weapons." Voss stood tall. "You should have honored the peace. We calculated a 97% chance of victory," the Craxian commander said, almost to himself. "Our analysts assured us your technology was inferior." "Your analysts were wrong," Voss replied coldly. "Surrender your remaining forces." The Craxian commander's forearms moved in a gesture Voss recognized as deep distress. The Purity Coalition promised easy victory. They said humans were weak, divided. You are neither. Around them, the shipyard continued to burn. What should have been a long, grinding war had become a devastating defeat for the Craxians in just 30 minutes. "Prepare to be boarded," Voss ordered. "Your ship and crew will be taken to Earth for questioning." As Voss's strike team secured the Craxian vessel, they found data stores containing the Purity Coalition's full war plans. The hardliners had expected an easy victory based on faulty intelligence. They had never imagined what humanity had been building during the years of peace. They had never expected the sleeping giant to wake so powerful, so prepared. They had never expected humanity's wrath to be so unstoppable. 3 months after the victory at Helios Primus, humanity pushed deep into Craxian territory. The Nemesis fleet, now expanded to over 200 ships, seemed unstoppable. Voss sat in the war room on Earth, studying reports of another successful mission. "Captain Voss," General Reed said as he entered the room. "Congratulations on the victory at Proxima Centauri." Voss nodded. "The Craxians are retreating on all fronts. Their weapons can't touch our ships, which is why I need you for a special mission." Reed activated a holographic display showing a distant star system. "We've decoded information from the Craxian commander you captured. The Purity Coalition has their central command hidden on their homeworld." The display zoomed in to show a massive underground structure. From there, they're planning a desperate final strike. "What kind of strike?" Voss asked. "A planet-killer weapon." Reed's face was grim. "If they activate it, billions of humans across multiple systems would die instantly." Voss studied the schematics. "They're desperate." "Yes, and desperate enemies are the most dangerous." Reed looked Voss in the eye. "We need a small team to infiltrate the Craxian homeworld and destroy this weapon before they can use it." Voss knew what Reed was asking. "When do we leave?" 5 days later, Voss's stealth ship approached the Craxian homeworld. With her were 12 of her best soldiers, including Lieutenant Reyes. The massive planet loomed ahead, covered in sprawling cities unlike anything on Earth. "Their defenses are concentrated around the capital," Reyes reported. "The weapon is located beneath the central dome." Voss checked her quantum phase rifle. "We'll use the chaos of their defensive preparations as cover. With the silencer device, they won't know we're there until it's too late." The stealth ship slipped past the orbital defenses and landed in a remote area. Voss's team moved quickly through the alien city, their advanced suits allowing them to blend with the shadows. "Strange to see their world," Reyes whispered as they passed tall buildings with curves and angles that hurt human eyes. "Never thought I'd stand on Craxian soil." They reached the central dome without detection. The silencer device masked their approach, causing nearby Craxian security systems to fail. Inside, they found less resistance than expected. "They've committed most of their forces to the front lines," Voss realized. "They never expected we'd reach their homeworld so quickly." Deep beneath the central dome, They found the planet killer weapon, a massive device pulsing with dark energy. Around it, Craxian scientists worked frantically. "Set the charges," Voss ordered. "We have 10 minutes before the silencer fails." As her team planted explosives around the weapon, a door slid open. A group of Craxians entered, not soldiers, but civilians, led by an elderly Craxian with ornic markings. "Do not fire," Voss commanded her team, who had raised their weapons. The elderly Craxian stepped forward. "You must be Captain Voss. Kreltha spoke highly of you." Voss kept her rifle raised. "Who are you?" "I am Sovereign Trelvax, rightful leader of the Craxian Confederacy." The translator gave his voice a dignified tone. "The Purity Coalition staged a coup. They do not speak for all Craxians." Voss studied him carefully. "You have a strange way of showing it." "Many of us have been fighting from within," Trelvax said. "We have sabotaged their efforts, delayed their plans. But we could not stop this." He gestured to the planet killer. "Why should I believe you?" "Because I helped Kreltha send you the intelligence before he was murdered. Because I want peace as he did." Voss hesitated, then slowly lowered her weapon. "We're destroying this device." "I know. That is why I brought these." Trelvax gestured to his companions, who carried data crystals. "Complete plans of our defensive systems. Codes to disable our remaining weapons. And this." He handed Voss a small crystal. "Proof that the Purity Coalition acted against the will of our people." "You're surrendering?" Voss was incredulous. "I am choosing survival over extinction," Trelvax said simply. "The Coalition would see us all die rather than admit defeat. I would see us live to rebuild, to try peace again, but with wiser eyes." Rais finished setting the charges. "Captain, 2 minutes." Voss made her decision. "Come with us. Bring your evidence to Earth. Help us end this war." As they escaped the facility, the charges detonated. The planet killer weapon collapsed in on itself, a fitting end for a device designed to destroy worlds. 1 month later, Voss stood in the Great Hall of the United Earth Council as Sovereign Trelvax signed the new peace treaty. Not a truce this time, but a true alliance. The Purity Coalition leaders had been captured or eliminated. The war was over. "Do you think it will last this time?" Admiral Chen asked quietly as they watched the ceremony. Voss touched the neural implant scar behind her ear. "It has a better chance. We understand each other now. They know what we're capable of when pushed. We know they're not all our enemies. And we'll be ready if it doesn't hold," Chen added. Voss nodded. Humanity had learned its lesson. Peace was worth pursuing, worth fighting for, but never again would they be caught unprepared. The sleeping giant had awakened, and the galaxy would not soon forget.